Good day and welcome to JCC Sunday School is in session, where Sunday School matters to God. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We would love for you to be a part of the JCC family. Today our lesson is titled, Hannah Commits Her Son to God, coming from 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 20, 26 to 28, and chapter 2, verses 1 through 10. Now Psalm 37, verse 4 reads, Delight thyself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of thine heart. This is a good example of the promise here in the story of Hannah and her son Samuel. Hannah found herself in a situation where she was dealing with the pain of not having a son, but she discovered that God had a special plan for her as he answered her prayers, and she had vowed a vow to commit her son to God. Let's get into the lesson and see what it has to offer us today. Verse 20 and 26 to 28 read, Wherefore it came to pass, when the time was come about after Hannah had conceived, that she bare a son, and called his name Samuel, saying, Because I have asked him of the Lord. And she said, O my Lord, as thy soul liveth, my Lord, I am the woman that stood by thee here, praying unto the Lord. For this child I prayed, and the Lord hath given me my petition which I asked of him. Therefore also I have lent him to the Lord, and as long as he liveth, he shall be lent to the Lord. And he worshiped the Lord there. Now, from these verses, we see Hannah brings her son Samuel back to the Lord. She prayed for him, and God answered that prayer. The text says she lent him to the Lord. Now, to lend here means she is giving or entrusting her son to the Lord. This was her cherished gift, yet she was willing to give him back to the Lord. What precious thing are we willing to give back to God? As parents, are we giving our children back to God like Hannah? Or if you're not a parent, are you giving your life back to God? Giving your life as a commitment to God for what He has done for you in answering your prayers and bringing you into the family of God. Now, question one says, why was the birth of Samuel so important to Hannah? By all cultural standards, not having a son back then made her severely insufficient. She felt without value. Her heart was tormented with unhappiness, frustrations, and insecurity. The fact of not having a son also was a reminder of incompleteness. Now, Penina constantly reminded her of this. It was a great honor for a mother to produce a son, and when that did not occur, it caused an emptiness of incompleteness. Question two says, why did Hannah feel it was necessary to present Samuel to Eli? In 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 11, it reads that Hannah had vowed to the Lord. Let's read that verse. O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look upon the affliction of thy handmaid, and remember me, and not forget thine handmaid, but will give unto thy handmaid a man child, then I will give him unto the Lord all the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head. This was a promise to God here, we can see that she would give her son back to him for a life of divine service. She promised that no razor would come to his head. This was a Nazarite vow. And as a result of this here vow, she was dedicating her son to God. Now, when Hannah reappeared to Eli, she first reminded him of who she was and then presented Samuel as the answer to her prayer. Then she was willing to leave her son. The gift given to her by God is being given back to him. She's leaving Samuel in the hands of Eli as now a son of God. To God be the glory. Now, going to chapter 2 now, we read verses 1 through 5. It says, And Hannah prayed and said, My heart rejoiceth in the Lord. My horn is exalted in the Lord. My mouth is enlarged over mine enemies, because I rejoice in thy salvation. There is none holy as the Lord, for there is none beside thee, neither is there any rock like our God. Talk no more so exceedingly proudly. Let not arrogancy come out of thy mouth. For the Lord is a God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed. The bow of the mighty men are broken, and they that stumble are girded with strength. They that were full have hired out themselves for bread, and they that were hungry cease, so that the barren have borne seven, and she that have many children is waxed feeble. Question 3 says, how did Hannah express what she felt was her exaltation? She said, her heart rejoiced in the Lord. The word rejoice here means exalt. She associated it with victory. She then acknowledged that God had exalted her to such a degree that she could smile at her enemies. She said that God was her horn, and this was a symbol of strength. Notice it was not her strength, it was the Lord's strength. God is the one who gives us strength when we are weak. He renews our strength when we are weary. Ephesians 6:10 teaches we fight in the strength of the Lord. And Philippians 4:13 teaches us that we can do all things through Christ who strengthens us. We can learn to find our strength in God to help us remain committed to the things of God. We need the strength of God to fight and to hold on and to continue to press our way. Question 4 says, in what way did she experience the salvation of the Lord? Hannah says, I delight in your deliverance. She didn't deliver herself. Salvation came from God. She says, I delight, meaning she was overjoyed with gladness because she knew it was God who rescued her. He delivered her from the enemies. He delivered her from sorrow into gladness. God had provided salvation from the curse of barrenness and the shame that caused by it. No longer was Hannah an embarrassment to her husband for not giving him a male heir. No longer could others mock or belittle her. No longer would she suffer the depression she had known. It was in this here glorious salvation of deliverance from God that Hannah knew that it was all God and not anything else. Question 5 says, what were Hannah's thoughts concerning those who had spoken cruelty towards her? She felt compelled to warn them about brash talking, that God weighs a person's actions. See, God allows it to rain on the just and the unjust. He's a just God who would tend to the sins of the fourth generation. Verse 4 says that the bows of the mighty are broken. And this means the Lord can bring to a dead stop even the most fearsome armies and warriors. The breaking of a bow is a picture of ending the enemy's ability to continue to make war. We see here God used this here as Hannah expresses that Peninnah cannot no more come to and try to make her feel shame, to make her feel little, to make her feel inadequate. No, God broke the bow, and that one thing that Peninnah had over her can never be used against her again. Question 6 is, what do we learn about the lack of security in riches from Hannah's prayer? Hannah reflected on the fact that God can completely change any circumstance he wishes at any time. This lets us know that God is in charge. God can allow life to throw us a curveball and change circumstances around. If it is by the direction of God, it will work out for our good, though. The word says all things work together for the good of them who love him and are called according to his purpose. Hannah started out barren, but ended up blessed. We should never allow our beginnings to determine our ending. God can make a way out of no way. We just got to commit ourselves to prayer, commit ourselves to the will of God, and know that God can work things out. Hannah teaches that we are to be place our faith in God and allow him to see us through. Now, verses 6 through 10 read, the Lord killeth and maketh alive. He bringeth down to the grave and bringeth up. The Lord maketh poor and maketh rich. He bringeth low and lifteth up. He raises up the floor out of the dust, and he lifteth up the beggar from the dunghill, to set them among princes, and to make them inherit the throne of glory. For the pillar of the earth are the Lord's, and he has set the world upon them. He will keep the feet of his saints, and the wicked shall be silent in darkness, for by strength shall no man prevail. The adversaries of the Lord shall be broken to pieces. Out of the heavens shall he thunder upon them. The Lord shall judge the ends of the earth, and he shall give strength unto the king and exalt the horn of his anointed. Question 7. What did Hannah say about God's control over life? Hannah recognized that all life is in the hand of God. God is in control. He's sovereign and holds everything under his authority. Question 8 says, why would Hannah be certain that God can elevate whomever he wishes? He alone has the power and authority to give and take life. His power is so great that he even can resurrect those from the dead. That is a right of God. And Christ demonstrated that type of authority while he was on earth to demonstrate his deity as God, that he was able to raise many from the dead. Question 9 says, what final contrast did Hannah make to encourage God's children? She spoke of how God can raise a beggar to a position of wealth and honor. Now, Luke 6:38 shows us that God can have other people pour into our bosom. She described someone who sat in the dust and among ashes, not having a nice home or the comfort of clean and new clothing. She is showing us that God can change our situation. God can change our circumstances if we are committed to him. We see that Hannah's prayer changed many aspects about her, and Hannah now is singing a song to let others know that God still can make a way. Now, question 10 says, who was the anointed of whom Hannah spoke? Israel will be looking forward to a Messiah, and we know the anointed one is the Messiah, Jesus Christ. So we see that God will also exalt and uplift his anointed. He will come from very humble beginnings, but in the end, he will be lifted up as king. So we can see that God can start with very humble beginnings with someone and exalt them to a place of authority, to put them in high places. We give God the glory for making those things happen. So today we learned that this lesson is Hannah's commitment. We see she did commit her son to a God, but that commit was all started by a prayer. Reason I say that commitment to prayer can change situations, change circumstances, because prayer can change things. She had been committed to keep her part of the vow by giving her son to God. So Hannah's spiritual commitment shows her faith and willingness to remain committed to God, even when it was something that was very precious to her. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this lesson. If you have enjoyed this lesson, please leave us a thumb up, a like, and subscribe to our channel. Also, please comment and do give us some feedback because I really enjoy your feedback. Now, I want to apologize for the lesson coming out late this week and the quality of the sound. I had some emergency situations where I had to go and check on some family members and then had to travel up to Chattanooga. I haven't been able to be at home to have my normal recording settings. So please forgive me for the quality of this here sound as well as the tardiness of it coming back. Well, that's all for this week. Until next week, come back, same time, same channel. Be blessed now.